In the name of Allah, the most gracious and the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I hope you all will be fine. Today is Monday, 11th May 2020. This lecture is for grade 8 and the topic we will learn today is spinal cord and peripheral nervous system, and the subject is general science. So student, I want you to open your general science book and go to page 5. I hope you will be on page 5. Today we will learn first we will learn about spinal cord, and then we will learn about the peripheral nervous system. So student, look to the first paragraph. The spinal cord is an extension of medulla oblongata. The spinal cord is located in the vertebral column. It is a tubular structure made up of bundles of neurons. Its length may be different according to the height of the body. The spinal cord connects the brain to the nerves that are found throughout the body. All the signals that go to the body or come to the brain pass through the spinal cord. If the spinal cord is damaged, messages cannot move between the brain and the rest of the body. This results in paralysis. Now, if you remember, we have in the previous lecture we have learned about the brain, their parts, and what there are and what are their function. Okay, so these all information was carrying or getting the brain from the body. Okay, and the body was the body was creating a response to it. Okay, but there is a medium which is used between the brain and the rest of the body, and that medium is spinal cord. Okay, because all these information is passing from the body toward the brain through the spinal cord. So in easy word, if I say it is like a road. Okay, it is like a road that is between the brain and spinal cord. That is between the brain and body. So for example, if the body detect the change or any information, so it is passed to the brain, and the brain create a response against that information or that message, and it is transferred back to the that part of the body. Okay, so all these information is passing through the spinal cord. Okay, so it is just like a road. Okay, so spinal cord is an extension of medulla oblongata. Okay, and it is located in the vertebral column. Now it is very important information. Spinal cord is located or protected in the vertebral column. How it is protected, we will learn that in the next diagram. Okay, and how the spinal cord look like. Well, it is a tubular structure. Okay, and it has many neurons. Okay, the tubular structure you will also see in the diagram, but just for a moment, remember that structure of the spinal cord is tubular. Okay, the length of spinal cord is also different according to the height of the person. If the person is short, the spinal cord would be short. If the person is tall, then the spinal cord would be long. Okay, the spinal cord connect the brain to the nerves that are found throughout the body. So the nerves is distributed to all part of the body, and it connects the spinal cord with the brain. Okay, and then these all signal are passed through the spinal cord. Okay, and the important information is that if the spinal cord is damaged or the message between the brain and the rest of the body will not move. Okay, so if the road is damaged, so there would be no transfer of information between the brain and the body, and this could result in paralysis. Okay, paralysis is just only one disorder. There are many disorders that can result it when the spinal cord is damaged. Okay, so let's move forward and learn the spinal cord with the help of diagram. Okay, so we have two diagrams here. Okay, so first of all, and the book they said to us that medulla oblongata, sorry, spinal cord is an extension of medulla. So here is medulla, and here is the extension of the medulla oblongata, and this extension is a spinal cord. Okay, and if you look to the second diagram, so this spinal cord, it is taught all the way from the neck or from the brain and passes through all over the back region and ended in the lower back. Okay, so the spinal cord, it is originated from the brain and it is ended on the lower back. Okay, and the nerves which are arised from which is distributed to all part of the body is called the spinal nerves. Okay, so this is distributed in all part of the body. Okay, now let's move forward. And the second point was that the spinal cord is located in the vertebral column. Okay, so if you look to the this diagram, if you look to this diagram, this is the vertebral column, and the spinal cord is present inside this vertebral column. Now how it is present? Well, if you take out this single vertebrae and you want to look it into inside, well, it will look like this. Okay, so this vertebrae have a space, an empty space, and this empty space is the path of the spinal cord, where spinal cord passes through this space from all over the head or brain to the lower back. Okay, and this the spines are also named according to this region. If you look to this whole vertebra, it is a very long vertebrae. Okay, but according to their region, they had given them names like cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacrum, and coccyx. So the spinal cord has also the same name, and just only with this name they had added the spine. Okay, so this region where the spinal cord is present called the cervical spine. Here the spinal cord is present is called the thoracic spine. This region is lumbar spine, there is sacrum spine, and it is the coccyx spine. So according to these region, they had given them the names, and that's why they called it cervical spine, thoracic spine, lumbar spine, sacrum spine, and coccyx spine. These names are given after this region or according to this region. Okay, and if you look to this diagram here, you will see the structure of the spinal cord, which is in a tubular shape. Okay, and this is how it is passed through or packed in the space of the spinal cord, and this is how it is protected. Okay, so if this spinal cord or if this vertebral column is damaged, then there is high possibility that the spinal cord become damaged. Okay, disorder like paralysis can result from it. Okay, now let's move forward and learn the peripheral nervous system. So we have finished the central nervous system. Now we are talking about now we will learn the peripheral nervous system. So in the first lecture we have differentiated between the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. So central nervous system, it was mostly composed of brain and spinal cord, and those nerves which are arised or branch off from the spinal cord and distributed to all part of the body, we call that peripheral nervous system. Okay, but these nerves are made from neurons, and there are some special type of neurons which we will learn. Okay, so look to the first paragraph. It says that the peripheral nervous system consists of sensory and motor neurons which are distributed throughout the body. Okay, sensory neurons carry the impulse from the receptor to the central nervous system, while motor neurons carry messages from the central nervous system to the effector, which is muscle or gland. So peripheral nervous system has some special neuron. The one is called sensory neuron, the other is second is called motor neuron, and these are distributed to all part of the body. Okay, now what is the function of sensory neuron? Well, sensory neuron carry impulses, nerve impulses, from where? From receptor. Now receptor, I will just discuss in the moment, but just for a moment, it is that part of the body which receive the stimulus. Okay, and when it receive that stimulus, it create impulse, and that impulse is carried by the sensory neurons, and the sensory neurons transfer this impulse toward the central nervous system. Okay, and the central and the motor nervous system, what it do, it carry message from the central nervous system. Now it is the return pathway. Okay, from the brain, from the central nervous system, and the motor neuron carry message from the central nervous system, and it transferred that message to the effector. Now remember, effector is that part of the body which complete the action of the brain. Okay, the brain produce action against stimulus, okay, or against information, and that information is completed through effector. Now effector are two types, either it would be muscle or it would be gland. Now let me give you a short example of muscle. How could be effector as in muscle? For example, if there is a nail stuck in your hand or in your finger, so this stimulus or this pain, which is stimulus, goes to your brain, or your brain tell you that remove that nail from your finger. Now the brain has created that message, but the brain cannot come or physically remove that nail for you, but it produce that message and send that into the muscle of your hand, and your hand remove it. Now in this example, your hand or the muscle of your hand or the muscle of your finger which is removing that nail is effector. Now what is the example of glands? For example, if the temperature of your body is start rising, okay, so this rising in temperature will detect by your body, and this sensory neurons which is present in all part of the body will transfer that message to your body that the temperature in the inside of the body is rising. So the brain produce the message that start sweating. Now the brain cannot start sweating by himself, okay, but it will transfer that message to your sweat glands, and your sweat glands which is beneath your skins will start sweating, and that's how the effector will complete the action of the brain. Without the effector, the brain cannot complete their action. Okay, now just a quick glance on the stimulus. Okay, what is stimulus? So stimulus is that thing which causes response. Heat, when you detect heat with the finger, your brain tells you remove your finger from that heat. Now that heat is stimulus, and it has produced the response. And what was the response? The response was removing of your hand. So anything that causes a response, we would call that stimulus. Example is vision. Now if there is highlight, and it is very painful for your eyes. So what the brain will tell you, that put a hand in the front of your eyes, so you will cover your eyes with your hand. Hearing, if there is very high noise, so what the brain will tell you, close your ears with the tip of your finger. So these are the stimulus which create response. Okay, so stimulus is anything that creates great response in your body. Okay, now receptor. So receptor is it could be organ or it could be a cell that is able to respond to a light, or in easy word we can also say that receptor are those cell or organ which can receive the stimulus and produce response to it. Okay, because if the receptor did not detect that this light is high or this is a high heat, then we will not be able to produce a response to it. Okay, so receptors cells are present in the tip of your skin, sorry, in the surface of your skin. Also it is also inside your organs, and it is also inside your tissues and muscles also. Okay, so receptors is that part which receives the stimulus. Now moving forward, here is the example of the sensory and motor neuron. First we will look to this example. Okay, here the person finger is near to the heat. Okay, so the receptor which is at the tip of the finger of this person receive this heat. Okay, and it produce impulse, nerve impulse, and that nerve impulse will transfer from the tip of the finger all over to the hand, and inside the hand it will go to the pass through with the help of sensory neuron. The sensory neuron will transfer this message to the spinal cord. This is the spinal cord, and this message will then go to the brain respectively. Okay, so the brain will produce response to remove your hand. Now this message, this action will come again from the brain and then to the spinal cord, and then from the spinal cord with the help of motor neuron it will come back to this muscle. Now this muscle, remember, is now what is effector, so this person will remove his finger. Okay, here is another example. Okay, the person is trying to strike a hammer. Okay, so when he strike a hammer, so this person here, they have a receptor. Okay, and this receptor will receive that stimulus, and it will create impulse, and that impulse will pass through with the help of sensory neuron toward the spinal cord, and then it will go to the brain. The brain will produce a response against it, and that response will come from the brain and then to the spinal cord, and then with the help of motor neuron toward this effector, which is now a muscle of the leg. Okay, and this person will remove his feet. Okay, so this is how the sensory and motor neurons are working in the peripheral nervous system. Okay, and this is how peripheral nervous system is working as a whole. Okay, now peripheral nervous system consists of 12 pairs of cranial nerves which emerges from the brain and mainly serve the head and neck. It also contains 31 pair of spinal nerves which branch off from the spinal cord and reach the rest of the human body. Now, the nerves which arise from the spinal cord, while it is not only that type of nerves present in our body, the nerves are two types. Okay, and these are divided into two main parts. One is called cranial nerves and what is called spinal nerves. Now what is the difference between the cranial nerves and the spinal nerves? Now remember, cranial nerves originate from brain, directly from the brain. Okay, while the spinal nerves originate from the spinal cord. Okay, and it is 12 in pair, and it is 31 in pair. And the third difference is cranial nerves are only present in head and neck region, while the spinal nerves are present in all part of the body. Now learn it with the help of diagram. So here we have two diagram. One is cranial nerves and the other is spinal nerves. Okay, so first of all we will look to the cranial nerves. So these nerves, if you look, this is brain, and it is originated from the brain, and it is distributed to all part of the face and neck. Okay, like nose, eyes, face, muscle, head muscles. Okay, and some nerves are also pass to the lungs, intestine and ears also. Okay, now look to the spinal nerves. Now here we have, up to here we have, it was the cranial nerves. Okay, now after the cranial nerves, the spinal nerves, look to the spinal nerves. These nerves are branched off or came out from the spinal cord and distributed to all part of the body. Now it has gone toward the heart, this and some of them are toward the lungs. These are these nerves are these nerves are in good are in touch with the stomach, in the blood vessels and the gallbladders, and so these are distributed to all organs and all part of the body, even to the skin. Okay, so this is and the one thing you should need to remember is that the spinal nerves are 12 in pairs, and the cranial nerves are in 12 in pairs, and the spinal nerves are 31 in pairs. I hope you will have understood this lecture. This is the end of this lecture, and I want you to give you a very interesting homework, and the homework is that you should write the name of those disorders that causes due to damage in brain and spinal cord. Okay, I want every one of you to make a list of it and then divide that which disorders is the result of brain damage and which disorder is the result of the spinal cord damage. Okay, thank you. Allah Hafiz.